Where's my coat? Oh, there it is. Welcome to the second half. Thank you so much for coming to the second half as well as the first, for those of you who are still here. I wear sunglasses because I can't do, I just can't do makeup anymore, you know? This outfit is appropriate to something I will do for you very soon. But before I do, I'm going to put on 2 pairs of glasses. My favorite thing as an elderly woman is that when you're looking for your glasses and then you realize you have them on. Or even better, when you're in bed and you put on your glasses when you wake up and you're doing 100 different things, apart, you know, jerking off, reading a book. And then you reach for, because these are dollar store glasses, you reach for your glasses and you put them on over the glasses you're wearing. Those are a few of my favorite things. Yes. So the second half we have 5 pieces, beginning and ending with an aria. In the first aria, again, the beautiful and talented Helen Ducharme. These words are actually just by me, apparently, according to the program, and the music is by Stuart Gordon. Applause, please. Thank you, Helen, Ducharme, and Stuart Borden. That was beautiful. That was called The Thrill of Everything, which might be a full-length opera, but who the hell knows at this point. Our next, we're going to have a piece from Patricia. This piece is in Musings from the Bunker. It's a wonderful story, and it is called, well, I have Coming Home in the program. Did I get the title wrong? Is it back?
No, that's it. That's
Coming Home, Patricia Wilson.
I'll be right back. It's a drink. Where's my drink? My drink. Turn that motherfucker down, please. Thanks, honey. So just so you know, there's a candle lit behind me. It's not because I'm that much of a space cadet. It's just that I like that candle for all those who have passed and for all those that we love that are not here. And I think it's important that we recognize them, even if it's only a candle. So that's what the candle is. Although my mother is spinning in her grave. Okay, I'm going to try this. Here we go. This is called Coming Home, as David said. I only accepted the invitation to read in the city of my birth because it created a reason for me to be there. I would never go there for a visit, as it held many emotional issues for me, from having it be the hometown of my deceased parents, who I still love and miss daily, and it made some emotional scars itch when I come into town and saw the ragged landmarks that were visible from the road or from the train car or the bar car. Right? Okay. I did not intend to contact anyone from my past while I was here other than those that would be there to come and see my reading, if they knew about it. My only family left here, my younger brother, now retired at 60 from the post office, and settled into his place as a retired, white, small city, homophobic, transphobic, closed-minded male. His last birthday, I didn't even call him. Although he was always nice to me, I couldn't bear his putting who I truly am out of his mind to talk to me, to the point where he still used, after 30-something fucking years, the wrong pronoun I was born with and worked so hard to change. A dickhead. Blood is blood, but a dickhead is a fucking dickhead. God fucking bless family. Anyway, I had a day and a half before the reading to myself, and I decided to go to some places I had frequented as a teenager, or maybe as a young adult. I was drawn to my area in the city where I had spent my youth from grade 1 till I left home at 17, and then returned to for another few years when my father died an awful fucking death from liver cancer. Finally, I pushed the place away in 1977. There was a park, walking distance to my home then. I frequented often, since the time I was allowed free access to the road. 4 or 5 blocks away, it was separated into 2 parts by what seemed back then like a huge overpass that rose above the train tracks that carried everything industrial in and out of the city. The one side, closest to my home, was the picnic area and the children's play area with the usual, now declared, unsafe wading pool, unsafe monkey bars, unsafe assorted teeter-totters, unsafe death swings, etc. The other side was the interesting part, as it contained to me the most beautiful gardens with a fountain containing fish and lilies and thousands of wishing pennies at the bottom. This was, of course, before lotteries and legal gambling. So the unreachable dreams were somehow tied to the fucking copper pennies wished upon and thrown into the fountain. Just like at 649. This was the park where I sat with my first love, holding incense while guitars played and people sang and talked of the war in Vietnam and other abuses in the world. We were going to change it with love and peace as Woodstock had happened and made us believe it was all possible. This was before the Rolling Stones and the Altamont Speedway concert ended the Love Generation in 1969 and the innocence of a time. I was youngish, maybe all of 14, at these love-ins, and truth be told, I only attended because an older girl I knew, who was so hippie beautiful, was afraid to go on her own and had asked me to go with her. There were many things about the park I loved. There was only one warning I ever received about it, which I never understood until I had to go against the warning. Stay out of the park's public washrooms. Right? Do you know what's coming? Even in 1969, you faggots were taking over the washrooms. What the fuck? Anyways, all right. So I blew it, but here we go. I'm going to read it anyways. It took one visit to know I was not in the need of that extracurricular events that happened in there, and truthfully did not completely comprehend. It just wasn't my place to be. One of my favorite things in the park was a Boer War memorial. Does anybody here not know what the Boer War was? How young are you? It was, just in case you don't know what the Boer War, it happened in 1899, lasted almost 3 years. It was the British Empire fighting the Republic of the African nation over who was going to rule South Africa. It was a bloody, terrible war, and lots of Canadians died in that war, including my great-grandfather. So, I'm going on, sorry. One of my favorite things in the park was the Boer War Memorial next to the gardens and the fountain. It was a work of art to me. It was a bone-white stone and almost single-piece memorial that could have come out of a Joseph Conrad novel. Names and information and sculptures were carved into alongside in brass plaques. It felt as if it was another world and time. There was a place to sit into it and muse over the gardens and hear the water trickle. At least this is how I remembered it. I was curious to see if my memories were firing or I had fallen on hard times in the youthful memories department. I spent many hours as a child and as an adult there sitting and thinking and sometimes reading a book or two. I remember reading Naked Lunch by William Burroughs there as an 8th grader and not fully understanding everything I was reading or picturing in my mind. So since I had time to kill, I ventured to the park to see the gardens and my place of so much youthful thought and perceived beauty associated with that oh so innocent time. Of course, how innocent was my time if I had started to read Burroughs' Naked Lunch. Well, never mind, here we go. The sculpture was still there in the middle of the pond and the garden seemed smaller in some areas and larger in others. I walked around the water and looked for the fish. They were gone and there were none, and I could see the stroking of time taking its toll on the things around me just as it has on me. Still, I was glad to be there and headed to my Boer War Memorial and suddenly realizing I had forgotten that Robert Burns had a statue and tribute to him there too. I passed a man perhaps around my age, maybe younger, hard for me to tell these days. He had long gray hair, well kept, well dressed, and he walked with a spring in his step that immediately endeared him to me. We made eye contact as we passed, and then I heard the crunch of the small white stones that were underfoot surrounding the water garden being ground under his shoe as he must have spun around to call after me. "Hello, are you Patricia Wilson?" I stopped and immediately had a panic thought. Could this be someone who I knew from when I worked for a couple of the arts organizations here, but just before I met my girlfriend of 25 years and moved the fuck out of there to my beloved Toronto, I did not want to really run into anyone that wasn't part of the plan for the visit. Sorry, I can't even see who in the fuck did it. Right. Sorry. I've waited my whole life to do that. All right. My beloved Toronto. I did not want to really run into anyone that wasn't part of the plan for the visit. I turned and said, yes, I am she, and he approached me with his hand out to shake mine and said he had read my book. Thank you, I said, with a quiet breath of relief. I always want to know who the one person that read my book was. He was taken aback, then smiled and moved into a dialogue to tell me how much he loved and what I had written and blah, blah, blah. Thank you so much for sharing this with me. It means a lot to me, I said, and it really did. And I started to walk away towards my destination in the park. Could I be bold and make a strange request, he said. I turned to face him, holding my breath for what was to come. Could you meet my wife? Could you meet my wife? We are within walking distance to the church service she is at right now. I don't think that's possible, as I have a schedule and limited time to see the park, I said, thinking, what the fuck? Come meet my wife at a church service, thoughts of religious zealots, Amway, Tupperware parties, Mary Kay makeup requests, all slammed in my brain at the same time. I know it sounds goddamn crazy, but I am not. I have told her about your book, and I may never get this opportunity again to have her meet you. She has been so resistant to reading your book, and I thought if she met you, she might jump in. Oh, what the fuck, I can't. This is getting more and more strange. I actually looked around to see if there was a film crew around, in case I had walked into some local cable channel's idea of camera. One thing caught me like a fucking fish on a lure. The sentence he threw at me. She has been so resistant to reading your book that I thought if she met you, she might jump in. She doesn't want to read my book, I said. Now my ego became the wheel and was pulling me in towards a boat, faster and faster and stronger, and my ability to fight being hooked with strength of common sense and self-preservation. No, it was so weird. She loves to read books similar to yours. I would have thought she would have loved it. Well, I said in a whisper, I am now at this point in the fucking net on my way to be skewered and roasted in an open fire and someone's fucking dinner. How far is it, I said. Immediately, I react by throwing my hand over my mouth to stop any more stupid shit from coming out of it. Shit, too late. By the telling look on his face, he smiles and points in a direction over my shoulder. Not far at all. You can see the steeple from here. I turn around and see a small grayish steeple at the end of his point, and I don't remember being there while I lived here. Do they still build fucking churches? And with steeples? Strange. I don't see any pentagrams or flashing lights or entities spinning around. I think to myself, I can always bolt suddenly. Head in another direction if the fucking doors bolt open and hundreds of cult members come rushing out of mass like deadly army ants to grab a new member. So without uttering a word, I turn around and start down the fucking path out of the park towards a destination of doubt. He quickly gets what I have decided and pulls up beside me, and we walk silently for a few yards. I'm Stanley, he offers to me. I stop and turn to him to face him, slightly embarrassed that I had been so self-involved I forgot to ask the fucker's name. Oh, I am so sorry, I forgot to ask your name, I say in a weak voice. Not a problem or a worry. There was a lot going on back there, Stanley kindly offers to me. I can't help but like this man. He seems kind, aware, full of life, or something akin to wonderment. And at the same time, I realize I am coming to this conclusion about him after what, 10 or 15 fucking minutes at the most of a conversation? I immediately get so distracted that I stumble over a curb, and as I stumble, he grabs my arm to steady me and asks, "You okay?" Excuse me. Yes, I say, just not watching where I'm going. Thanking you for helping me there. He has a strong, steady hand. I think to myself as we continue down the path, I wonder if there is something else happening here. I say in a low, meant only for me mumble, "Excuse me, Stanley." Says, "I missed that." Well, all the traffic noise and such, you couldn't hear what I was saying. I say, just talking to myself, something I do more and more these days. I get that. I'm completely guilty of that too, he says. Stanley is right. There's a lot of traffic as we pull up to the corner just outside of the park. Christ, I don't remember it ever being this busy when I lived here. I say in a voice tinged with angry surprise, yes, although things are definitely not at their productive best these days, the traffic is growing and taking over parts of the city, he offers. As we stand there waiting for the lights to change, I subconsciously reach over and touch my phone in my right-hand breast pocket of my jean jacket and make sure it's there, and suddenly thinking, I may fucking need it, depending on what happens in the next little while. I look around to the four corners, and not a damn thing on any corner looks or feels the same as it did so many years ago. Can things change so fast? I mean, literally, not one thing here in the front of me presents even a shadow of a memory. Surprisingly, too, is that there is no life, no human activity on any of the corners to warrant such a destruction of what was once there. A four-cornered ghost town. My stomach is now starting to take the hit of all this, and I can feel myself growing more and more uncomfortable. Now as we walk silently towards a building he calls the church, I can barely concentrate on anything except a growing discomfort in my stomach. I can't take this kind of thing anymore, I think to myself. How did I let this happen? I mean, going against my better judgment and walking wide-eyed into this? Fuck. Too late now. The only thing on my mind is finding a washroom so I can relieve the growing pain in my stomach and bowels. Now I'm saying a prayer to myself as I walk up the stone steps. That's old age. Towards the door. Please, God, let me get to the can before I shit myself. As we enter the sunlit foyer, I turn to Stanley, trying to look calm, and say to him, in what I hope is a calm, steady voice, where is the washroom? He politely points to the direction of the stairs leading to the basement and says, down the stairs, straight ahead and to the right. I sigh and excuse myself and walk at a measured pace towards my goal. As I open the door to the single toilet washroom, I silently thank the bathroom gods for the opportunity to do my deed in privacy. I literally explode. All the tension of doubt. You want the truth or you want the lie? You tell me. I don't know about you, but I don't shit roses. Okay. I'm glad we got that straight. I literally explode, all the tension and doubt of this escapade being thrown out of me, and I immediately start to come to myself again. No mess to clean up, thank God. I think to myself, and after looking in the mirror to make sure all is where it should be, I head back up to where I left Stanley minutes ago. Hey, I say as I approach him, slightly startled at the casualness of my greeting, as I usually throw that salutation towards old friends rather than new, untested acquaintances. Hey, back, he says, picking up on the change in my demeanor, I think. And now I think, don't get too relaxed with you. I mean, don't get too relaxed with me, you fucker. One false move and I'll make your head spin. So we slide through the doors into the main worship room. Fucking worship room, right? Fuck. Anyways, So into the main worship room, and I suddenly take a short gasp of air. I look up and saw the room lit by the sunlight broken up into 1,000 rays of light by the refraction of the sunbeams interpreted through the red-purple colored glass skylights. Mixed with the effect of the sunlight were the lights of hundreds of hanging candles in metal cages. Once my eyes adjusted to the lights and the effects, I saw and then heard the few cages with couples of songbirds singing happily to each other and everyone that would listen hanging from the ceiling. Needless to say, the unexpected beauty of light mingled with the sound of birds was, I don't know how to describe it correctly, but I was moved to almost tears. Stanley was studying my face and obviously was used to the reactions of those experiencing this for the first time. So he said to me simply, "Beautiful, isn't it? It helps lead one to oneself, one's path." I continued to stare upward and then scan the whole room. The room was simple, with a few found pews from other churches, a few mats and chairs, cushions on the floor, and a few steps on the south side of the room that led to a candle-lit and incense-covered altar-like structure. Not really an altar in the true sense of the word. It felt as though it was more of a centerpiece for the room. There were the idols, of course, the Buddhas, the stars, the crucifixes, and many items I could not make out in the light and my distance from the altar. A worship room for all. I felt Stanley touch my hand softly to get my attention, and he slightly leaned into me in a whisper. He said, "I would like you to meet Mary." The way he said it sounded so loving and endearing. I felt a little weak-kneed. He raised his hand in the direction to a woman who was sitting in one of those old-found church pews, and we walked noiselessly towards her. As we came up beside her, I knew something was about to happen. I felt I was going to faint or maybe even vomit. I began to shake. He put his hand on her shoulder and said, "Mary, this is Patricia Wilson, the woman whose book I have been asking you to read." She hesitated a bit too long before standing and turning towards me, and with her trembling hand outstretched, she raised her eyes to meet mine. It was Mary, once my Mary, and I was once hers too. We had not seen or spoken to each other in over 30 years, and we had not walked away from each other unscathed. Mary was my partner when I started my transition so long ago. Suddenly being face to face with her and the flooding memories, I found I could barely breathe. I felt my chest go tight, and by the looks of it, she was doing no better than I was. We both instinctively sat down, not saying a word to each other or to Stanley. He looked at us both and in a shaky voice and said, "Is everything all right? What's going on?" It was well known in circles that both Mary and I had traveled and that she pretty well fucking hated me. It was never really her fault, considering how long ago it was, and how little information there was available to anybody really when it came to transsexuality. That's what they used to call it. The information around then was one step above a back page story in the Reader's Digest. I know because I read that back page story and read about something that vaguely was me, although a line in the fucking story about suicide and the victims affected by this mental illness shocked and terrified me. The strange thing is that although someone that is gender confused or fluid, as they throw out now, has a battle in front of them, it's the ones that love them and they love that get damaged terribly too. Your search to be who you are truly destroys a part of them that they love and cherish about you. So your family loves and friends must climb that sadness and confusion to find the thing that they loved and cherished in a different package, sort of. I'm not saying that love and understanding won't eventually come to the whole thing, but if you're not personally aware of what it feels like and the self-damage and something sometimes self-hate that it brings, you can't understand it. Like Renee Richards said in her book. Does anybody know who Renee Richards is? Yeah. The tennis player that changed her sex? Okay. And did a lot of battles. But like Renee Richards said in her book many years ago, and I am paraphrasing here, it is hard for a free fish to understand what a caught fish feels like. That one line stuck with me my whole life, my whole zigzag fucking journey. Although Mary knew from the day we met, as I was upfront with her and she started out as my confidant, we fell into a precarious love. I think both hoping that this weird cup that had been given to me would pass. Still, I knew deep down in my soul where it would go, as I had given up love, true love already, and had given my gender roller coaster. Honestly, as the reason for the complete destruction of that relationship. Looking back, I realized when I finally started to transition, and it was an up and down, back and forth, stopping hormones, starting hormones, heartbreaking, joyful, all depending on the moment or the hour or the fucking day or who I thought I was in love with or who I wasn't in love with. Did I love me? Did I love them? I know now that although I was transitioning to be who I knew I was, I lost who I was psychically and emotionally for years because of the struggle in front of me. I battled those around me, family, friends, gas station attendants, grocery store clerks, pointing, laughing, strangers, whispering, bar patrons, driving me into deep depression and an intense agoraphobia that prevented me from moving forward in many ways. Mary and I were living together then, and she endured and lovingly helped me stumble through it all until I got my first job in the arts as a woman who I was learning and growing to be. We stayed together until shortly after my surgery, which ultimately broke her heart and mine. For lost love is always heartbreaking, no matter what the reason, good or bad. By that time, I was sleeping on the couch while she slept in what was once our bed with a man, the saxophone player. That would be part of her life for a minute. I was so strange, and it was so strange and new for me. I sobbed and cried alone many nights, even though I had the joy of my surgery and a life that I was beginning to understand and love. We eventually had a complete falling out after I moved out, and she had a huge backyard ceremonial bonfire. All my books, furniture, things that I had left behind at her house, she burnt in a bonfire. And her friends and girlfriends danced around it, so I'm told. I wonder if she had someone sage her house too. I probably would have. Now, after a million breaths and a few thousand silently screamed fuck yous, here we were, face to face. Neither one of us ever wanted or expected to look each other in the eyes again. This thing was as this catastrophic meeting began to unfold. One of the very first things that crossed my mind was, I am going to write about this. And here it is, true to my word. I wonder if I have warped the meaning, as the emotion and the hate and the disgust thrown at me with cutting eyes may have been too much to write clearly about. I remember seeing all that in her eyes like a hissing cobra as she said, "Why are you here?" Before I could answer, Stanley said, I brought her here. I met her in the park and thought you two could talk, and enough, she almost gasped. "Get out," she says in a whisper, so those around her can't hear her hateful or broken-hearted command. Sometimes broken hearts disguise themselves as hateful hearts. I wanted to take Mary's hand. I wanted to explain to her all she did not know of me since that time and why things happened. I even wanted to apologize to her for her pain and bitterness and tell her that she is better than this. So taking a steady breath, I took her quivering hand and leaned into her slightly intimate as two long-term friends would do, and I said quietly to her, "Go fuck yourself." I dropped up her hand, grabbed Stanley's, and said, "Thank you. I hope your nightmares don't become yours." I walked out of the church feeling better than I ever had in a long time.
Thank you, Patricia. That's a beautiful story. I love that. I love the very kind and genuine way in which you responded to that poor woman's fucking Helen. Yes. So now I'm going to do a couple of short pieces for you, and then we will end the evening with a final aria by Helen Ducharme. I'll tell you before, in case I forget, the aria is called Colonoscopy. We had planned on having a slide of my most recent colonoscopy. It was very clean. It was very, I couldn't find the photo, so I'll have to do it again. But it's from a longer piece called What's It Like, where I go on this long riff about colonoscopies. Now, what am I reading? So, oh yes, this is a poem from a book called Invisible Foreground. I have some books if you'd like to buy one. One for $10, two for $15. If I autograph it, I'll give you $2 off. My mother is on the front, a beautiful hand-colored photograph of her on a motorcycle. And she was just like me, a drag queen. She never rode motorcycles, and that was someone else's costume. This poem is in two sections, and it's called Watching Grown Men Cry. 1. Over cappuccino with a warm shot of whiskey beside a thin young woman on a bar stool in a lounge named East of Never, under pressure in a late night board meeting when his son will be the Eastern Star by 9 in the first grade play named Heaven, after stand-up sex with his golfing buddy in a fully equipped RV while the wives are at the spa, when the flirtatious lesbian economy of the straight women he works with under excludes and excites him, before undressing for dinner in full frontal perusal of 25 years of living he will never get back, beside the pain-fused light of a sun-raised moon on a surreal jigsaw on a commode in his den, regardless of pomegranate salad, sun-dried children sent to camp, she asks him to go down on her again, with his shallow feet awakening in a sudden stream of light and some fragility in shadows. 2. Inside a posh holding bin for new psychiatric patients interrogating $2,000 red leather Barcelona knockoffs before a wreath of holiday wealth, imagining belief in small paternalistic doses without regard for nothing less than fine wine, praise for middle-aged women, sunglasses and scarves beyond question, the faint vivacious tremor of her lower lips, inside identity defined by birth certificates, driver's licenses, genital configurations, and undotted sin above reproach, for moody playoff seasons, male menopausal breath beneath cribbage boards, plastic pegs, hedge clippings, and the news of the world, unless heaven allows, foundational bliss and flood insurance. Now this piece was a last-minute decision. I'm going to try to sing it for you, which is always a bit of a risk. We only had one short rehearsal. I'll give you a bit of a brief intro. With a full-length performance piece I was commissioned to do in Vancouver over 10 years ago, and I was commissioned to respond to the opera Madame Butterfly. So I thought it would be appropriate tonight to do this after a long time. I haven't done it. The piece was called Lotus Blossom Special, and the academic title was Metamorphosis and Misidentification in Madame Butterfly. I was studying at the time. But I love Butterfly. She's a wonderful, tragic hero. And I wrote a song. Well, I didn't write the music, as you can tell, because it's Andrew Lloyd Webber over there. I picked Andrew Lloyd Webber's memory to sing it to because Webber, as some of you may not know, he had to settle at his court for music that was so close to Puccini's Girl of the Golden West in one of his musicals. And the case was so strong he didn't even bother going to court. And I've always been convinced that Butterfly's final aria, called One Fine Day, although it's not plagiarism, there are elements, there are ranges. I'm not really musical in a very technical way, as you'll see in a moment. I think that memory has some similarities to Butterfly's death aria. So this is Butterfly's tragedy that she sings just before dying, but it's from a gay, male, queer perspective. There's a fine line between reaching out to a friend in need and a mercy fuck. My luck has abandoned me now. My luck has gone astray. But one fine day I will see smoke arising o'er the sea's horizon. A ship will appear, a white ship. Into my harbor will come one fine day. He'll be here. But I won't go down the hill to greet him. No, I'll sit here, 'cause he's straight and I'm queer. Exhausted from waiting a long, long, long time, 'cause he's straight and I'm queer. But one fine day, you'll see when he's smiling, on his cheeks will be shining such bittersweet tears of my face in his heart. For a few drunken moments when we were both queer. Dying, am I slowly dying? A fate worse than death. Loving for a few stolen moments. Straight men who sometimes turn queer. No, I'm living in the heat of those moments, and I'll go on living for straight men who turn queer. For a moment, a brief stolen moment in time, for straight men who turn queer. Thank you. Thank you all so much for coming. Our final and glorious act at the end is Colonoscopy, performed by Helen, Ducharme, music by Stuart Gordon, and written by my bundle. Thank you. I'm sorry, I know this will embarrass him, but Stuart, happy birthday, please. It was Patricia's idea. David Ramsden, happy 42nd birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear David. Happy birthday to you. What a perfect birthday song right after we sing about a colonoscopy song. How long is the bar open, Patricia?
The bar is open until bartender's making more money.
Okay, well if you want,
So if you keep fucking drinking,
keep buying drinks, the bar will
keep
stay
it
open.
cheap and stop drinking, then it closes.
It is a Monday after all. Thank you so
Be here
much.
till 2 o'clock if you keep fucking drinking.
Thank you again,
Don't
everyone.
forget to tip.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you for being on. I hope it was enjoyable. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Anybody wants to pay the business on tour? Thanks so much.